Welcome to Epg Pathshala. My name is G. Mahendra Reddy. I am working as an assistant professor in tourism at National Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Hyderabad. Now we are going to discuss a paper on tourism in India and the module on tribes and tourism in India. The objective of the presentation or the module is to know what is tribal tourism and what is the importance of tribal tourism and what are the major impacts of tourism with the development of this particular form in a tribal areas, and what are the other significant activities that we can see with the development of tribal tourism. And finally we'll go through basically what are the different types and what are the different tribal tourism destinations which are very popular in the country. So before going to the presentation, first I would like to give a small description on what exactly the tribes and their lifestyle and the different cultures of different tribes. There are different terms that words they use throughout the world for tribes. Different countries have different names, especially in China, Vietnam, Philippines. These countries, they call tribes as ethnic minorities, and in Africa they call the same tribes, and in Thailand they call them as hill tribes, and in India generally we consider as Adivasis or scheduled tribes. Like some other parts like developed countries, especially North and South America, they call them as a Native Americans or Indian tribes or Indian communities or Amerindian. So these are the general names they used to call. Other countries like Latin America, they call them as indigenous people. In Australia, Canada, Taiwan, so these countries, they name it as Aboriginal people. Some countries like Canada, they call as First Nations. So whatever the name that we reflect, we use, basically it represents the indigenous people. That means people who are staying in the forest areas. So this is the meaning. When it comes to the typical definition, so that we follow by the definition given by the United Nations organization. So according to the UN definition, the indigenous or tribal communities are the people and nations as those having a historical continuity with the pre-invasion and pre-colonial societies that developed on their territories are distinct from other settler groups and want to preserve, develop and transmit to future generations their ancestral territories and their ethnic identity. So that means according to this UN definition, whatever the people who are living the forest areas before the colonial period or pre-invasion of these communities, that means they are living from long times with or within the forest areas and still continuing their cultures. So according to the definition, generally we can see that the major components like there will be a historical continuity that is based on occupation of ancestral land and common ancestry, cultural practices and language. So you can see many tribes even in India, still they are practicing whatever like they were practicing in the past. Even today it's continuing. The other characteristics of this particular community or this particular group of people is that they are economically backward compared to other communities or other cultures. Even culturally they are marginalized and often live in extreme poverty. Wherever you see, not only in India, even in the majority of the countries which the tribes are living are under extreme poverty, especially the African countries and many other Southeast and South Asian countries still facing these tribal issues when it comes to economic poverty and cultural issues. So these are the basic characteristics that we can see in most of the tribes. Along with that, they are basically depending on the forest areas and forest resources. Most of the times they don't have a permanent residence, or they used to move from one place to other place for whatever the region, maybe a food, maybe a shelter. So whatever the region, they used to do all these things but now because of a lot of government activities or schemes, at least there is a change in terms of their culture and their association with the forest, and the continuation with whatever the positive or negative activities that they were practicing in forest areas. The other characteristics are these tribes are viewed historically or developmentally as a social group existing before the development of or outside of states. So as I mentioned earlier that these tribes were according to the definition of UN organization, these were the people there even before the colonial rule. So that means you can see before 18th century, 17th century also they were there in most of the forest areas in most of the countries. Many anthropologists use the term tribal society to refer to societies organized largely on the basis of kinship, especially cooperative descendant groups. So we have discussed about different names and their characteristics and their association with the forest, all these things. Now we are going to discuss about the tribal tourism. So how tribes can be developed with the development of tourism, or tourism can be developed vice versa with the development of tribal areas. Generally we can see in a tribal tourism is a showcase of tribal life, art, culture and heritage on location, benefiting the local tribal community and enabling interaction between the tourist and the locals for an enriching experience. So that means according to the definition, the tourists whoever visit these tribal areas, generally they are interested to see the tribal life, their art, their architecture and their food habits and other cultural activities that they follow. Maybe fairs and festivals that they would like to experience during the trip which they take to these particular tribal areas. In general we can see the tribal tourism attractions. Whenever you go to any tribal tour, you can experience basically there will be nowadays you can see museums also which reflecting the culture of tribal life and their cultivation methods and the other cultural activities that they were practicing. And you can see many places the governments, especially the tourism departments and corporations, have concentrated on cultural villages. That means they are concentrating specially to promote the tribal culture of that particular community in a particular area. So where the tourist will go there and they will experience that particular whatever the staged authenticity or authentic experience of the tribal lifestyle. And there will be some nature based tours in this particular component, basically these tribes are living in forest areas, so they are very good in terms of the knowledge on flora and fauna. So sometimes they will be taken to some nature trails, and some tourists are also involved and interacts with the local people in terms of celebration of fairs and festivals. Nowadays you can see many tourists who are showing interest to go to different places in Orissa and of course in Telangana, different fairs and festivals. So they are trying to understand their culture and they are also involving the local people to learn and experience that particular culture. There are many cultural events and art galleries that they are showcasing the tribal life, art, architecture in a different ways. Other thing is that the tourists are also involved in this particular tourism to know the culture along with the environmental aspects and spiritual aspects of particular indigenous communities, and the traditions are especially featured in indigenous tourism. These are the general activities that the tourist will be involved or they will experience during a tribal tourism package whenever they visit in a particular tribal tourism destination. So we have discussed about tribal tourism and activities. So now we are going to discuss about what are the impacts and what are the issues involved in a tribal tourism development. There are many positive developments, positive things with the development of the tribal tourism. Tribal tourism is basically it is significant activity because it provides many benefits to the local people, that is the tribal people. The positive impacts are generally, you can see that with the involvement of the tribal people in a tourism development, they will get some employment generation and they will learn about the different cultures, and they will come to the mainstream to learn about the mainstream society. Other activities that we can see, that with the development of tribal tourism in many places it is recognized, especially in African countries, even in India also, because that tribal knowledge is very important and having a sense for the promotion and conservation of a particular wildlife, and they are having indigenous knowledge which is having more valuable to the conservation compared to the modern principle that we are practicing for the conservation of wildlife, because they are associated with the wildlife and other flora and fauna for a long time, and they know each and every area how to conserve and what are the major threats that they are facing. So this is also indirectly contributing for the conservation, and we can also learn whatever the knowledge they have acquired from long generations. If you do not properly manage any tribal tourism, there will be many negative impacts, and it is like many tourists are interested to learn the culture, at the same time they want to take some photographs with the tribal people. That means like whenever you go to a typical tribal culture, and they will be having different traditions, and some areas they are not supposed to take a photograph of any particular community of women or a child, but still tourists are interested to take a photographs. Most of the tribes, in even today some areas they'll be in a different positions and they are in a different conditions. So according to their culture it may be right, but at the same time it is also leading for negative impacts, showing their culture and putting all the whatever the photographs that they have taken to the public life and putting it on social media. It is also one of the negative impact. And the other thing is that one way we are promoting tribal tourism which is having a positive benefits. The other way, like if you develop tourism, we, especially the tourism developers and the planners, always look for the authentic culture. Even the tourists also look for authentic culture. That means there is a contradiction, that one way we are expecting them to come to the mainstream, that means providing all the modern facilities, education and the other developmental activities by providing some schemes. But at the same time tourism is always it's a resource hungry industry, and it expects authenticity of a particular culture. That means we are expecting the same culture to be continued even now also. That means at the same time that there are development activities that promoting to come to the mainstream, and the tourism is also promoting, but at the same time this also expecting to continue that culture. So this contradiction is there. That can be managed if it is well planned, and if we take a responsibility for involving the local people, whatever the tribes are there, in a different activities, and whatever the culture that was there, that we can show in the form of museum or art galleries, but not same as authentic culture. So this contradiction still need to be addressed. I think there are many scholars and the planners which are working for this particular issue. So we have discussed all, like what are the activities that involve in tribal tourism and challenges of promoting tribal tourism. Now we are going to discuss about the different tribes or tribal communities mainly presented in India in different parts of the country. So we are not going to go through in detail. We are just explaining our different types of tribes, just to know their culture, their location and their cultural practices. Mainly we can see the Muria tribe is one of the popular tribe. People of Muria tribes are inhabitants of Bastar. Bastar is one of the tribal dominant district in the state of Chhattisgarh. They are relatively prosperous when compared to other tribes in the districts. So they are self-sufficient in producing chickpeas, dal and lentils. These particular tribes follows pre-marital sex. The youth are expected to engage in sexual activities when they are discouraged to becoming emotionally attached to the sex partner. The Muria tribes worship village gods and clan deity. The other tribe is that Korwa tribe. This particular tribe live in the hills and forest areas of Chonagpur in Chhattisgarh. Korwa community consists of 4 subgroups, namely Ageria Korwa, Nam Korwa, Di Korwa and Par Korwa. All 4 subgroups worship the same deity named Di. People of Korwa tribe speak Korwa language, which is also known as Imga, Singli and Bashi. Kamar, this is one of the very prominent tribe in the state of Madhya Pradesh, especially lives in Rewa district of Madhya Pradesh and some areas of Raipur in the state of Chhattisgarh. Their local language is called Kamar. Military service is considered to be their traditional occupation. Farming is the occupation of most of the Kamar people. And there are 4 subgroups called gods in the Kamar tribe. They follow the Hinduism and each home as a family god. Munda tribe. Munda people are found in state of Jharkhand, Assam, Orissa, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Tripura and Madhya Pradesh. Some areas of Bangladesh also having these Munda tribes. And this tribe is one of the largest tea tribes of the nation. They speak Munda language and the contemporary culture of Munda people is a mix of Sarnasm and Christianity. The traditional occupation of this particular tribe is hunting, but nowadays they are employed in different sectors. And the other tribe is that Kharia tribe. Kharia people are found in the states of central India, especially Madhya Pradesh and even in Odisha, West Bengal and some parts of the northeastern state like Assam. So there are few inhabitants in Andaman Islands also. There are mainly 3 types which constitutes the entire Kharia: Duda Kharia, Delki Kharia and Hill Kharia. They practice hunting, gathering. These are the sources for their livelihood. Juang and Bhumij, these are also one of the popular tribes. Juang tribe people are the inhabitants of Gonsaika hill range in the state of Orissa, and these people were mainly hunters and gatherers. The culture is generally the father and all females of one family live together in a hut, whereas boys live in a separate hut at the entrance of the village. And these people worship forest spirits in the olden days. Bhumij tribe, these people are very prominent in the state of Assam, Jharkhand, Orissa and West Bengal. They speak Mundari language. They have a traditional beliefs like modern Bhuji people adopted Hinduism as a main religion. The other tribe is the Koya tribe. These particular people are inhabitants of Indian states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka and Orissa. So they are also referred to as Koi or Koyalu or Koyolu and so on. So their language is known as Koya, which doesn't have a script. The Koya people are primarily cultivators and some are artisans. Still they practice this culture. And Galo is the other tribe, lives in the central eastern Himalayas. They are the descendants of Apatani and speak a Galo language. They are also referred with the names such as Duba, Doba, Doba, Dobabar, Galangabar, Galang, Galang Adi, etc. And these people follow monogamy, but the elite people of the tribe follow polygamy. They follow the religion Doni. Now Christianity is spreading rapidly in these areas. The other tribe is Badagas. Badagas are the tribal people inhabited in the Nilgiri hills of the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. They are the largest indigenous tribes in the Nilgiri hills, and they speak Badugu language, which is having no script. Basically they are agriculture people living in nearly about 440 villages. Even though their main deity is Hetai, they also worship several Hindu deities. Bil is another tribe. It is also known as Beals. These are the tribal people inhabited in the central and also in certain parts of Sindh in Pakistan. They are the largest tribal groups in India and they speak Bil language. The important element of Bil culture is the Ghumar dance. The other tribe is that Gondi tribe. Gond is the tribal people of a Dravidian origin inhabited in the state of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa and some other states. Their main language are Gondi and Hindi. Other Indo-Aryan languages are also spoken by these particular tribal communities. The script called Gunjala Gondi Lipi is used to write Gondi language. The Gonds are well known for their knowledge of astronomy. The other tribe is that Apatani, also known as Stan, Apa and Apatani, are the tribal people inhabited in the Zero Valley in the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. And the tribes follows democracy and their village council is known as Bulyang. Their oral folk tales are known as Miji and Migun. They worship the nature and believe that the object in the nature has divine power. They are known for nose plug and face tattoos. The other tribe is the Jarawa, which is among the several indigenous tribes of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They speak Jarawa language, one of the Angan languages. They are believed to have inhabited Andaman Islands for about 7,000 years and they were totally isolated from the outside world till few years ago. Urali tribe, this particular tribe is inhabited in the South Indian state of Kerala. Agriculture is their prime occupation. So even hunting, mat weaving, basket making, pottery making, etc. are also done by this particular tribal community. They worship nature, believe that sun is the creator of all the soul and moon is the other for all creation. And Urali Mikir is also known as Karbi, is an important tribe in the northeastern Indian state. These people are mainly inhabited in the state of Assam. Linguistically, these people belong to Tibeto-Burman group. The tribes include 5 major clans and marriage between people of same clan is not practiced. Rankar and Chamkan are important among the various festivals celebrated by this particular tribal community. So we have discussed mainly the major tribal communities that which are prominent in different states of the country. So now we are going to discuss about the major tribal tourism destinations that are popular in India. As we discussed that the majority of Indian tribal groups are present in central, northeast, western and east India. Tropical central states of Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are the home to the Gond, the region's largest tribe of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. The western state of Rajasthan and Gujarat are best seen between November and February in terms of tourism. East India, almost 1/4 of Orissa's population belongs to the tribal community. Indian tribes are also known for their arts and their craftsmanship. When it comes to the northern or northeastern states, these northeastern states are very popular for tribal tourism since there were many tribals living. Even today that tradition is continuing. So generally we can say that a northeastern region consists of different states. Generally we call it as sister states. These are Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. And the entire northeast India is home to several ethnic groups who have inhabited this region since antiquity. The northeast Indian tribes are known for their distinctive culture, ancient language, hand-woven dresses and handicrafts, all of which are having distinctive and most appealing too. Some of these prominent tribes are Nagas, Kasis, Jaintias. These are the major tribes. As we mentioned that they have a distinctive culture and hand-woven dress, handicrafts. These all are become the attractions for the tourists who are visiting northeastern states, and they are also continuing with their fairs and festivals. That is also one of the major attraction that people who visit these particular areas. So the other popular and very prominent tribal tourism destination in the country is Orissa. So Orissa is a traditional dwelling place of several tribes who endorses its antiquity. In the country, largest number of tribes can be found in the state of Orissa. These ancient people with a mystical ancient ways dwell in Orissa remote deep forest and hilly interiors, and most of them are in a southern part of the state. The Orissan tribes continue to be a source of deep interest for numerous tourists alongside anthropologists and sociologists. So nowadays you can see there are many tourists who are visiting these places, and even when it comes to the educational point of view and anthropological and sociological or socio-developmental point of view, many scholars are visiting these places to understand their culture and their practices. And majority of tribal sites in Orissa are generally Baliguda, Kotagar, Raigada. So these are the very popular and some of prominent places for a tribal tourism in the states. And these people are having a rich and diverse cultural heritage, which is one of the main attraction for the tourist. And whoever visit this particular place, they involve with the local people to understand the local culture, and the changing seasons, religious customs and traditional values are strong motivations for creating a series of festivals that enrich their life cycle. So this is staged activity. That means recently government has concentrated to celebrate this kind of festival in for the tourism point of view or for the promotion of tourism. Diverse culture, all these things are major sources for tourism in this particular area, but at the same time there are many places which is having many negative impacts because of tourism development. So there are some areas in Orissa which is banned for tribal tourism. So the other prominent state for tribal tourism in India is Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh is one of the most intriguing tribal tourist destination of not only India but even throughout the world. Chhattisgarh has constantly been identical with the tribes and tribal culture, and Chhattisgarh is famed for its incomparable picturesque splendor and distinctive and rich ethnic culture. And these particular tribes follow unique lifestyle and having impressive maintained their culture through the ages. Department of Tourism Chhattisgarh has concentrated especially these areas to promote tribal tourism, especially in Bastar and many other districts. They also celebrate like a Dasara festival and other major festivals which are major attractions for the tourist. And the Chhattisgarh tourism is also concentrating tribal tourism to eliminate poverty, at the same time to alleviate the Naxalism. Because if you see this particular area, Naxalism is very prominent, and the most of the Naxals, the youth who are joining in these activities are basically they don't have a proper education and lack of employment and other developmental activities. So with this, government has concentrated to provide some employment to the people, the youth who are diverting to this particular Naxalism, and at the same time by providing some accessibility in terms of roadways and other infrastructure, there can be some development. So where there will be a scope for vanishing this particular threatening activity in this particular area. So like that, wherever there is a prominent this Naxalism is there the government is concentrating for a tourism development. Indirectly they are contributing some facilities for the local people so that they will continue with the other alternative employment activities. The other tribe or tribal groups which are very prominent in the state of Rajasthan are the Bhil tribe. This is the predominant group where the original inhabitants of the Rajasthan. They are mostly located in a southern part of the state of Rajasthan. The 5-day Baneshwar Tribal Fair held every year in the month of January and February in Dungarpur, which is a very popular fair. Most of the tourists would like to go there and to participate in this particular fair. One can also celebrate the other festivals like Holi in a traditional style with these particular built tribes in this area. And traditional clothing, carrying swords and sticks and performing the tribal dance of that particular region is also one of the continuing activity which is attracting the tourists. Conventionally located not far from Jodhpur, Bishnoi village provides an authentic experience of rural Rajasthan of the tribal life, art, craft to the tourists who are visiting. The other tribal area which is not very prominent but still there are some groups which present in Maharashtra, that is also home for more than 50 different tribes, with the main ones being Bills, Gonds, Mahadev, Kolis, Pawars, Thakurs and Varlis. So these were very prominent. Nowadays you can't see as a tribal, but they have come to the mainstream. So we have discussed all what is tribal tourism and what are the tribal tourism activities and the major tribal groups and major tribal destinations in the country. So with this I would like to summarize that the tribal tourism is a showcase of tribal life and their art, culture, architecture, their cultivation methods all together in a particular package. The people whoever want to experience the tribal life, they will experience whatever the mentioned things. These tribes are in different areas which are prominent in, especially in the northeast and central India and some parts of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Orissa and Rajasthan. So these are very prominent tribal places having a different tribal communities. There are many programs which are going on to get the tribal people to the mainstream. So even tourism is also one of the tool which can be used for the empowerment and development of tribal communities, where the tribal tourism can be possibly developed. The tribal tourism in India are most refreshing and energizing. One way tourism is having more positive impacts. At the same time, if it is not properly managed and proper planned, then there will be many negative impacts also. So that the tourism can be practiced in tribal areas with a proper planning, development and by following a sustainable and responsible principles, that which will have a more positive impacts and less negative impacts on the tribes and the forest area. With this, I would like to close up by suggesting you to go through the e-resources like web resources for more information, and the other resources like quadrant 4, which will have a bibliography or references, will give you more information on these particular topics. So thank you.